It's now the time for Professor Robert Duncan, Senior Vice President for Research at Texas Tech University, Professor of Physics.
Thank you. Appreciate it. On this important occasion, at the convening of ICCF-19, I am kind of overwhelmed with the desire to express my thanks to so many people and to this community. First, thanks very much to the beautiful city of Padova for this wonderful, wonderful place to convene. Thanks to TSEM and Tony Legata for his outstanding leadership in pulling us together. And thanks too to the organizing committee, the program committee, everyone who's really done so much work to make sure that this is a big success scientifically. So I would say that first and foremost, the greatest opportunity we have is this community. And I'd like to express very much my personal thanks to this community. It was about 8 years ago that CBS 60 Minutes contacted me and asked me to study into cold fusion. And I remember my first response was, well, I mean, hasn't that been debunked? I mean, I had no idea really where things stood. And as I started to study, I realized, wow, this community's really contributed something profoundly important, especially now, especially with the way science had become. There had become, at least in physics, this concept that if you discovered something or observed something that was repeatable, but that did not agree with our current existing theories, then you must have made some type of error in measurement. You must have just gotten it wrong somehow, because there was such trust, overwhelmingly, in the prevailing theories of our day. Well, this is not the scientific method. The advance in science, the progression of our whole human condition has depended upon our ability to be surprised, to encounter things that empirically surprise us, that don't agree with what our predominant thoughts are at the time. And it's that process of being surprised that's been so profoundly important to advancing our understanding of things. The scientific method is, of course, seeing something repeatable that, again, comes surprising, and then modifying, hypothesizing new possibilities for how this all fits together, and then trying to do falsifiable tests to see, do tests to see if these falsifiable hypotheses can be disproven. What doesn't get disproven, of course, has some standing and then goes forward further. This is the progression, this is the scientific method that's so important to us. And so, again, what I really came to realize was the value of this community, the importance of the scientific method, and the determination and fortitude of this community to really pursue this tirelessly and with courage. It's interesting because on October 7th, 1903, the New York Times, which at the time was everything it is today, kind of the authoritative indication of what was predominantly thought and well known, published that a machine heavier than air that may actually someday fly may be developed, but it will take from 1 million to 10 million years, and it will require the best mathematicians and mechanicians through that entire period. 1 million to 10 million years? They're referring to, in fact, the Wright Flyer that flew before the end of that calendar year in December 1903. I think the point here is that discovery, rapid change, is in fact very disruptive. And people and institutions don't like being disrupted, so people treat revolutionary change as something that they don't think can occur, or at least they try to diminish the possibility of that. Well, of course, the Wright brothers had one big advantage. They could fly over the homes of their skeptics. But in doing this, they were able to show the world the importance of, again, revolutionary change. It's interesting because this sort of courage and this sort of determination is important to us for another very important reason. And this is something that I believe Tom Darden made a very good point of when he spoke. And that is that the greatest return on investment is not incremental improvements to what we think we know how to do. Of course, that's an important process. But the greatest return on investment to us by far is in revolutionary change, is in scientific revolution, is in thinking something very differently, seeing commonalities and similarities, and making it reduced to an art, to a practice that can improve our situation and our quality of life. We heard earlier in Italian that the cost of energy here is 150% higher than elsewhere in Europe. So as we start to see our exploration of things that we don't understand, we start to open these gates for a possible much brighter future. It's in fact incredibly disconcerting to think of a future where we would continue thinking that any observation not consistent with what we currently think has to be wrong. Such a situation would greatly limit our future development, would greatly limit our opportunity to advance. And this community, again, which I'm very grateful to, has shown that courage, that chutzpah, that determination throughout its full existence. I've only been part of this community now for almost 8 years, but those who have been with this for the last 3 decades have shown a remarkable determination and drive, being able to not be daunted by, again, the naysayers and the people that keep suggesting that the pursuit of anything that isn't within the current convention is fundamentally wrong. It's that extreme desire that has given us a great return on investment, a great opportunity in our knowledge-based economy, and again, at the very root of that is this determination, this courage, this presence to be able to explore things that we see, we know are repeatable, but we might not know what it is. I would claim right now we don't know exactly what this is, but we do know it's repeatable. It's fascinating because this excess heat that we see, now we understand, correlates often with a very strong spectral emission at radio frequencies. This gives us a spectroscopy. This is nature giving us a clue to possible mechanism. We've also seen some change in the metal morphology when this excess heat is produced. Again, nature giving us another opportunity, another clue, something more to explore that'll point us back to mechanism. And while the empirical release of substantial excess heat in its own right is exciting, and that may lead to some technological advances, the understanding, the reductionistic understanding of what this thing is the thing that will really, I think, benefit society profoundly. It'll give us the ability to synthesize new materials, to synthesize, again, the repetition of this effect that will make it so beneficial to us in ways that we haven't yet explored. It's interesting because when you look at the theory of this, we've seen a number of different ideas. We've seen this concept that there may be some type of resonant coupling between atomic and nuclear states. Possibly so. In fact, that seems very compelling. There's been the suggestion that this actually may be something to do with some type of momentum non-conserving nuclear sorts of transmutation or emission. There's also been suggestions that this could be something to do with dark matter conversion to luminous matter. We'll hear all of these possibilities discussed during this conference. Now, the situation is the fact that we have such a varied idea of what this might be proves that we really don't know yet what this is. But we all agree that it's a reproducible effect. We've all seen some triggers that cause this to occur time and time again. We all see that this phenomenology in its own right is repeatable now, and that's extremely exciting. Understanding this again in a reductionistic fashion will build upon our knowledge-based economy in ways that none of us can really speculate here as we sit and contemplate the outcomes of ICCF-19 and the direction this community is going to go. Well, I just wanted to say a few quick things about the program. It was my delight to be involved in chairing this conference 2 years ago at the University of Missouri, and it's tremendous to see how well this conference has grown over the last 2 years to our current time today. There have been many great developments. We've seen a much greater private investment occur in this community over the last 2 years. We've seen the entry of many countries to bolster their research in this area. Just to mention a few, as we've heard from Brazil, Russia, we've seen an expansion in most countries that were already pursuing this in the past, and that's very exciting. We've also seen a situation with this community where many other groups, universities, and others are involved in trying to explore this systematically. And of course, where there promises to be a potential return on investment, the time frame for that, as we heard again from Tom Darden, is not certain. But nonetheless, the point is that the existence of this effect, the importance of it, especially in exploring that which we fundamentally don't understand, cannot be denied. If history shows us anything, it's exploring the fundamentally unknown that has the greatest return on investment. Incremental change, of course, is important, but it never really results in the big transformations for society. Well, with that, let me just close by again thanking very much the organizing committee. Thank you very much to the whole community for your boldness, your courage, for having many of the traits this horse has, a real determination, a real nonstop persistence to try to understand what's going on. So thank you very much, and again, I hope we have an outstanding conference, and I look forward to our further discussions throughout this coming week.